Serpents say Satan's tail and serpents crawl. It's time for Halloween, the witch's call. At midnight, beware, their ghosts will arrive and give you all of the treats and tricks. Welcome all and one to this special edition of the Valleycast, where I, Steve Zaragoza, will share with you I have this written down. Top 5 must-see, lesser-known horror movies. Boobs.
Don't feel like watching movies, so I'll watch people guess them instead. I don't know how it goes, I think it starts with your show.
Guys, you know how much I love Halloween and horror movies, and I'm a big horror movie guy. Like, any chance I get, I could talk about a good horror movie, and I'm always one of my love languages is sharing movies with people. Like, truly, I don't even know if that's really one of the love languages, but it is. It is for me. But I really love showing horror movies to folks. Let me make sure I'm not blasting y'all out here. Just making sure my levels are nice. I guess I could fix it in post. um, but around when October starts to come around, when the fall time starts to when the fall season begins to arrive, that's when I like to start watching horror movies. And this year I got started a little bit later. Actually, we've been doing our Halloween in our VR nights with pals, or our movie nights. But on the wheel are quite a few of these, actually. Um, and many more, and everybody's got their own favorite scary movies and movies that they love to watch. And I know actually a lot of people don't like scary movies. Like, you're not into scary movies, you don't want to be scared, and I totally get that. I totally vibe with that, but I think you're a pussy and a weakling and a wuss, and you should be ashamed of yourself, especially if you're an adult. Think about that for a second. Happy Halloween. No, it's fine. Whatever. And actually, when I was making my list here, I realized that there is one movie that potentially would be fun for those of you, and for those of you who have people in your life that don't necessarily love horror movies, but well, maybe there's two, because my number 5 is, even though it technically is a horror movie, it doesn't really fall into the category of, of being, like, a gory, violent, like, you're not gonna see Terrifier on my list, which is a different kind of horror movie. The extreme gore, the extreme, like, realistic the attempt at realistic gore. And I have some friends that actually, like, can't watch Terrifier because it's so fucked up, and I get it. And there's a lot of people who get these visceral reactions to seeing, dismemberments and horrifying gory violence, which is totally understandable. But for me, it's like, this is my best advice for people who maybe want to watch more horror movies, but are, kind of not into the evil shit, not trying to invite evil shit into your life or bad vibes and things like that. Again, totally understandable. But something that I like to remind people of, and even myself when I'm watching some of these movies, is that, we're looking at actors, we're looking at people who are just like you and me, who are acting. And in all of those scenes, The Exorcist, those are actors, believe it or not. That's not a documentary. Um, all of these spooky movies with, extremely violent or scary imagery. It was all created by some dude or girl or person who's just like, maybe this will look good or maybe this will look scary. And so when you think about how it all comes from this artistic shared, you know, you know what I mean? Like it comes from the mind of a regular person that gets up in the morning and wants breakfast and goes to poop and pee and stuff like that. So I like to remind myself that everything you're seeing is fabricated by people who are like probably cracking up and laughing about how awesome it looks and how fucked up it looks. And I think about the Terrifier movies specifically in that way. And I think there is this kind of magical way to make horror movies more watchable and more acceptable, and that is to watch it with a group of people who like to laugh at shit and go big when like there's big violent scenes. Because I'll watch Terrifier with my friends, and you know the violence in that movie is fucking incredible. Like it's really some of the it's like, low budget visual effects, special effects, makeup, and prosthetics and such. But it just looks so fucking real. And like, I grew up in a time where the internet was just starting out and you would like stumble upon some of the worst shit you could possibly imagine. Stuff that stays with you for the rest of your life, like the kind of rotten.com, ogrish, e-fucked kind of shit where it's just like, oh, here's a beheading, or oh, here's someone who's dead, here's some real dead bodies and such. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that and been shown something against your will that ended up being like a violent thing or whatever. So I have this like also this kind of built-in a sort of desensitization, and I can only say that to the degree that I am telling you, because I also am not, I think it's impossible to be fully desensitized by that kind of stuff unless you're like exposed to it every single day. You're like a coroner, or you perform autopsies or something, or you're a surgeon, or work in forensics or something. So I'm only as desensitized as like, I'm probably more desensitized than a lot of you because of all this, like, in certain circumstances you grow up with friends too who are like kind of like troll assholes, and they're like, we're gonna watch the Care Bears movie, and they put a VHS tape in and it's Faces of Death, which was a horrifying thing to see as a young person, because you're like, what is this shit? It's this like band, you know, uh, movie with like real footage of people dying. And indeed there was, but I actually learned later on in life that a lot of it was fabricated, just like these movies I'm about to mention to you. Where a lot of the visual effects, the like, the death scenes were fabricated, and there were actors and stuff. And so anyway, I've had a lot of time to kind of like figure it out. And in my adult age, I actually do know quite a few people who, like I said, kind of shy away from that stuff. And I had a friend who watched Terrifier with another friend who just couldn't take it and said like, turn it off. And I have a feeling, because as humans having this shared experience, like let's use the movie theater for example. When we're all in a movie theater and we're watching a horror movie, um you can this is kind of like a life hack, I think. And also that you have to toe the line between being like disruptive and annoying, and also kind of just getting the ball rolling. But there's a way to get the audience comfortability ball rolling, so to speak, in a movie theater when you're watching a horror movie. And that is to, when the first big violent scary crazy thing happens, you hoot and holler. If it's Especially if it's like a silent theater, like if people are pretty quiet and they're just kind of like, maybe they're a little scared about what they're about to see or something. And what I found is that, and we could even use a different example. Let's use a different example. So let's say you're just watching a regular movie in the theater, and there's a moment that might call for someone going like, yeah, woo, like something great or big happens. And if you are the person that starts that, if you're the person that's like, "Ah," like you crack up out loud, you crack out, you crack up out loud, in the audience, you kind of like give everybody else around you permission. It's almost like when you start the applause. This is the more simplified version. I'm going around in circles on this, but it's like applause. There's kind of like this reading the room, feeling the moment, finding the right moment. But I'm sure some of you, many of you have experienced the being the start of an applause where you're like, "Fuck, I just gotta clap for this because there's people out there that I really like what they just said, and I gotta clap for this." And then everybody else erupts into clapping as well because they're like, "Yeah, I also agree with that random person who started the clap that this is a moment to clap at." And then it kind of gets everyone all comfortable and less stiff, and it gets everyone kind of doing a physical thing together, and it's this shared experience with everybody, and then it kinda just creates this comfortability that sets the tone for the whole rest of the, it gets people hooting and hollering and reacting and stuff, and there is a point in which you can push that beyond appropriate, and then it starts to become, like, heckling, like, that's what leads to heckling, and I think alcohol has a lot to do with that also, but, um, just inhibiting an inhibitor of some kind, um, an inhibitor of fucks and an inherent need to have attention on you. But yeah, heckling can happen because the person on stage makes the audience so comfortable that it makes someone in the audience want to kind of like respond along, and they're connecting with the person on stage so well that they want to like add to that and be like, "Yeah, I was thinking that too." Like there's so many people that hear someone on stage saying like, "The other day I saw this movie and I loved it," and someone in the audience would be like, "I saw it too and I loved it. No one else saw it and I want to talk about it." There's this kind of like shared social, unwritten social hack where you can be the person that kind of creates the comfortability and sets the kind of tone for the what's happening in this kind of shared area. So going back to the horror thing, so Terrifier is the kind of movie where if you go into it and you're like, I'm gonna be grossed out and I'm scared and I'm nervous and and you're feeling all this tense feeling and this shared feeling of fear and like and anxiety because you don't want to see blood or gore or whatever. For some reason, and I mean, I don't know, there's psychological reasons and smarter people. If Elliot were here, he'd probably be able to kind of like pinpoint exactly what it is. But I think like laughter is something that we do as like a almost a nervous mechanism for wanting to keep everything chill. Like I'm going to laugh because this is uncomfortable and silent and cringe, and then it'll make me feel better to laugh, and then maybe someone else will laugh and feel comfortable to laugh. And once you start to laugh and set a laughing precedent and kind of like a fun like once someone realizes that there are people in the theater that are having an absolute fun time and cracking up and clapping and going, "Oh my god," and "Oh no, don't go in there," you kind of give everybody else permission to just relax and be like, well, if this guy's, it's kind of like the roller coaster thing too. There's all these examples of just kind of like this shared experience. Like you sometimes you won't get on the roller coaster because you're scared, and then for me, I don't like roller coasters at all, and I've tried many of them. But when I have tried them, something that worked really well for me was to watch people leaving the ride and seeing their expressions. And if anyone was like, "Oh, everybody going again," then that would be it for me. But since everyone comes off and they're like, "Oh my god, I want to do it again," it kind of just makes you feel like, well, shit, now I'm more comfortable, and now it makes the experience more comfortable. So anyway, that was my long-winded way of getting us to a place where the movies I'm about to share with you certainly would benefit from having someone in the room who laughs at like extreme violence and things like that. And there really isn't much in here that is extremely violent. Although, but again, and a lot of these movies are like some of these movies from the 70s and 80s and shit. And so there's also that kind of cheesiness that comes with those kinds of movies where the gore is like, well, that's so fake. That's the fakest shit I've ever seen. And then you're like, it kind of makes you a little more comfortable to it sets the tone for like all the rest of the shit you're gonna see too. Oh, well, it's all gonna be kind of cheesy and 70s looking and not very real looking. So it kind of helps me um get past a lot of that stuff. So anyway, I realized that I'm a little bit less prepared than I should have been with this list because I kind of want to at least I want to talk about who directed these things and stuff like that too. But let's just get right into it. Um let's just speed right into this 15 minutes into the to the episode. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my Steve Zaragoza's top 5 must-see lesser-known horror movies. And you can argue if it's lesser known in your hood or in your world or whatever, but I just think overall these are movies that people don't really talk about unless you go into the deeper horror communities or like you go to those conventions and stuff. And you could probably go somewhere to like Halloween Horror Nights and mention these movies, and maybe some people would be like, "Oh yeah, 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 I see that movie. Oh, my dad loved that movie," or some shit. But anyway, this first one we're gonna start with number 5, and we'll go all the way to number 1, and these are in order as closely as I could, um, as closely as I could figure are in order of how much I like these movies. There's some that can flip around and switch around sometimes, but for the most part, I think this is in my order of good to most favorite. Anyway, you get it. You know how lists work. Okay, first off is a movie called Mom and Dad from 2017, a little bit more of a modern one. And this movie stars Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair. And we love Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage goes full Nicolas Cage in this, and it's very fun. And if you love seeing Nicolas Cage lose his shit, then you've come to the right place. And I've gotten to this point with Nicolas Cage where like I fucking love him. Obviously, he can do no wrong. Although I feel like we're kind of at the point with Nicolas Cage where we've kind of Tommy Wiseau'd him a bit. Like he kind of has always done the Nicolas Cage like freak out thing or like his Nicolas Cage isms for years and years and years. This is just who he is. This is his whole thing. But once people started to kind of like really latch on to his Cage isms, I feel like he started to become aware of what, and I feel like the same thing kind of happened to Jeff Goldblum, where he was doing his oh, well, like his like weird Jeff Goldblum isms, and now he's completely aware that people love that shit, and I think he does it less organically now, and he does it almost purposefully. And I say it Tommy Wiseau because I say it's like Tommy Wiseau because Tommy Wiseau directed The Room, which is one of the worst movies ever, and it's so funny and stupid and bad. And he thought he was making like this great dramatic independent film, and it turned out to be this fucking laughing stock, like horrible shit. And he didn't love that for a while and then leaned into it and then became like, well, let me make funny movie now. And now it's just like he lost it because I think he leaned too much into what people were kind of grabbing onto. And I don't know. You can disagree with me. It's fine. I'm a movie snob. But anyway, Nicolas Cage, this is kind of like 2017 is on the cusp of people digging into oh, is he gonna Nicolas Cage in this movie kind of like vibes, in my opinion. And so it's kind of like the last one that he has made, in my opinion, where he's organically Nicolas Caging and not kind of like playing it up for this or that. You don't have to agree with me. That's fine if you don't. That's just my feelings. So anyway, Mom and Dad is a fucking incredible movie. I think I saw it at Fantastic Fest back in 2017, and I actually went to a screening with Nicolas Cage there, and I'll never forget the amount of rings he had. And that's a Nicolas Cageism that isn't quite that he isn't quite playing into. I think he really wants to wear like all these like big giant fucking rings and um he's just a weirdo. He has a kid named Kal-El, I think, a Superman. Excuse me. Anyway, let's watch a trailer for Mom and Dad, shall we? Okay. That's a great idea, Steve.
Hey, can I go to a movie with Riley tonight?
With Riley?
Your grandparents are coming for dinner tonight, remember?
Awesome. Grandpa telling his disgusting Vietnam stories.
Take my advice, don't ever have kids.
Everything just revolves around you, doesn't it?
Yeah, whatever.
What is the rush today? It's like we're waiting for a buffet.
What's going on? Is that McKenna's mom?
Multiple reports are now coming in of parents murdering their own children.
Listen to me. We have to get out of the house before Mom and Dad come home. Dad?
Right foot in, you take your right foot out, you do the hook, poke in, you.
Okay, so it's funny because you even get the acknowledgement in this trailer that Nicolas Cage in full-on nutzoid mode, which was a quote from the IndieWire about this movie. But in case, for those of you that are just listening to this, obviously the heightened version of this would be to watch the video so that you can see the trailers and such. But what I love about this movie is that it's just this kind of like sudden, unexplained thing happens that causes all parents to want to kill their children. And that's it. And you're like, that sounds fucked up, but it's actually very fun and weird. And yeah, it's fucked up too, but again, it's that fucked up that's kind of fun if you're like willing to kind of just laugh with it and go for the ride. It would be like going on a roller coaster and being like, I'm going to cross my arms and be upset about this the whole time. And you're going on loops and shit. And you're like, I hate this. And like, and it's funny that I keep using roller coasters as an example because it's something I don't go on roller coasters. I don't love roller coasters, but I understand that roller coasters are more fun when you kind of just give yourself to the experience. And that's kind of what I did with this list too, which was they're all movies that they're very fun. They end up being a fun, weird time. And if you watch them with the right people who can laugh at shit and relax and chill the fuck out, and maybe even enjoy your own version of an inebriation, an imbibement, if you will. And check that out. So anyway, I also have a quick scene here that I want to share with you guys to also give you an example of what the tone of this movie is. So check this shit out.
You need to leave the house, you and Dad.
Your motherfucking mother should open the door! Motherfuckers! You're going to open this motherfucking door! Kali!
Not so helpful.
Kaji!
Carly! Joshi!
Not so helpful.
Kaji!
So he's not crying in that scene because he's sad. He's crying because he can't get to his children to kill them. Which is like, goddamn. And you can see the cage is in full. He's gone full cage in this one. So highly recommend. The movie's directed by Brian Taylor, which actually I'm not quite familiar with the rest of this director's filmography. Let's take a look here. So he is the director of Hellboy the Crooked Man, which was that Hellboy movie that came out with David. Oh no, this wasn't the. This was the post David Harbour one. This is the one with Jack Kesey as Hellboy. Who? And he also directed that show Happy, which I was trying to remember the name of the other day. That show with I guess it was a Grant Morrison, Brian Taylor joint, but it's got Christopher Maloney and Patton Oswalt, and he sees Christopher Maloney has this like imaginary friend that follows him around or something. It's like a filthy, dirty kind of show. But yeah, here it is. The director of Mom and Dad also directed Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance and Crank High Voltage and Gamer. So that gives you a little bit of a of a taste of. I mean, if you've seen those movies and you like them, then that's kind of what's going on with this movie. It's very kind of high octane insanity. All right. Next up on my list, number 4 is Wreck. Not WRECK. REC, like record. And I actually have struggled with whether to call it record or wreck or whatever, but I call it Wreck. And this movie came out in 2007, so it's a bit of an older one for sure. And it's also, I hope you don't mind reading. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to watch a movie with subtitles. I'm a baby and I don't want to read. There is an English dub version, but I highly recommend not watching that version. And as a matter of fact, I think these things are available on streaming things, but I had kind of a heck of a time trying to find the not dubbed version, the like original Spanish language. It's a Spanish film. So you've got a lot of the policia, the TH in there, which is so cute. It's so adorable. But anyway, Wreck is so good. It is a zombie movie. And you might have seen, what was the fucking movie called? Quarantine with the girl from Dexter. That Quarantine was a remake of Wreck. And yeah, that movie exists. But Wreck, or Record, if you will, is a fantastic movie. I would say there's certainly some kind of like fun moments, but this one's on the list. This one I think is the most like it doesn't quite lean into comedy. Most of these movies lean into comedy because I can't help it. And this is the one that actually doesn't on the list. It doesn't quite dip into comedy so much. Although there are some moments, and all good horror movies have those kind of those comedy tension breaking moments that kind of happen, and I think this one has a few of them. But for the most part, it's a serious horror movie. So please, no laughing. And here's the trailer. How did I get here?
Hoy, mientras usted duerme, vamos a acompañar a una dotación de bomberos en
La
su recorrido
dotación.
nocturno. Espera, corta aquí.
Vamos.
Venga, va.
Venga, más agilidad a esas piernas.
Más grave de lo que parece, ¿no?
Bueno, ahora nos lo vamos a encontrar, ¿no?
Bueno, entramos.
La vieja vive en el primero derecho. ¿Qué ha pasado?
Mari Carmen, que es la mujer que ha llamado a los bomberos de la policía, dice...
Señora, estése quieta. Señora.
Lo tienes.
Lo tengo.
And it is a short movie, thank God, in the sea of long movies these days.
Y nos van a seguir diciendo que no pasa nada.
Güey, tú deja de grabar de una puta vez, joder.
Otro lado, ha ocurrido algo inesperado. Puede contagiarse.
Okay, so you get it. It's basically kind of like a jump scare, and I love those movies where the horror movies where you're stuck in one place and there's like stuff going on outside and you gotta like it's the argument of should we stay inside and wait for help or should we leave and then like be out and be vulnerable. And I like those kinds of movies. From Dusk Till Dawn is one of those movies, and like Assault on Precinct 13 and things like that. But Wreck really has you on the edge of your seat the entire fucking time. I recently showed this to my girlfriend and she didn't know what it was, and she absolutely loved it. And there's actually 3 or 4 Wreck movies, and the first one and the second one are so good. Maybe it's 3, and the third one is but you see what they're going for, and the fact that so many movies kind of came out from that tells you something. But really good, really well made, intense movie. And I'll show you this quick scene here. We'll show you a scene from Wreck. And I'm sorry for those of you listening that also don't understand Spanish, because you're not understanding anything that's happening here. But for you viewers, please enjoy this.
Sí, coño, que tiene mucho, no lo muevas, coño. Alex, mierda. Alex. Vale. Arriba hay alguien. Chicos, vale, déjelo, no lo mueva. Vale, fuera. No lo mueva, por favor. Véngase conmigo. No lo muevas. Vente conmigo. Vamos para arriba. Vamos para arriba.
Wait, did that clip start from later on? Anyway, there's your clip. That kind of ruined the moment of the clip if it just started from it's early, guys, and I'm tired and I'm stressed out this week, by the way. A lot going on. Exciting, but stress. Anyway, Wreck. It's very good. And I guess if you want to know some more info about Wreck, let's see. Just really quick, we can pull up some IMDb just so we have some info here. Just who it was directed by, I guess. The director is Jaime Balaguero, who also wrote it. And I think there's a few directors in there. And a lot of movies under their belt that I actually should check out. Yeah, Wreck 4 Apocalypse. So there's 4 Wreck movies. And they kind of degrade as they go on. But highly recommend to check out Wreck. All right. Okay, so number 3 on my list of must-see, lesser-known horror movies, Monster Squad. Now, maybe this one is a little bit of a stretch of lesser-known, with using the lesser-known descriptor, but I would actually, I'd be surprised if you hit up some of your pals and people in your life and ask them if they know what Monster Squad is or have heard of Monster Squad. And this movie is just absolutely timeless. It came out in 1987, which is a fantastic year for movies. I've got my widgets on my stream thing, and that's why you heard that. Movies from 1987, really quick. RoboCop, Dirty Dancing, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Predator, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Spaceball, Lethal Weapon, Fatal Attraction, Good Morning Vietnam, Witches of Eastwick, Hellraiser, Lost Boys, La Bamba, Throw Mama from the Train, Princess Bride. So what a year for movies, 1987. And then this little gem, Monster Squad. What a fucking film. If you've never seen it, then I am so excited to introduce this to you. I highly recommend it. It's just a fun time. Rick Baker did the creature effects, which, if you know Rick Baker shit at all, you know that it's the highest form of practical effect technology from early movies. So let's watch a trailer for The Monster Squad.
You know who to call when you have ghosts. But who do you call when you have monsters?
We're the Monster Squad. What's a squad? It's like Miami Vice, I think.
They're young and inexperienced.
Naughty virgin.
They're a bit disorganized.
Monsters are not real.
We don't know that, sir.
2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves.
But when strange things start happening in town,
There's a monster in my closet.
Ooh, look at that big, scary monster!
What's happening? 2 ways to kill a werewolf.
Silver bullet?
they're the only ones ready to do battle.
Something's out there and it's killing people. And if it's monsters, nobody's gonna do a thing about it but us.
Soon the creatures of the night shall rule the world.
Real monsters? Us? Midnight. In the world, remember? Maybe we can be like Mask Squad instead, you know? 2 mask bombs.
We got 1035, stick back up, hurry up!
Or Nature Squad. The book is right. Don't you think it's all true?
By midnight,
You guys!
they won't seem so young anymore. The Monster Squad.
Wolfman's got nails.
I love the Wolfman's Got Nards thing. I mean, I don't know if you guys, for those of you that have seen this, that's the Wolfman Has Nards scene is probably the most well-known scene in the movie, or at least the most quoted, I'd say. But I remember, I mean, dude, I was like fucking 6 years old, 5 years old when this movie came out, so I was way young. But I mean, obviously, the guys that made Stranger Things were inspired by this movie and many other Kids on Bikes type movies, which I would say this is. But I love the movies where the kids are the answer to saving the world because the parents don't believe it or care, and they're disenchanted. Oh, I'm sorry. And I said Rick Baker, and I'm a fucking idiot moron, and I should have everything in all the movie things in my life taken away from me, and I should be punched in the face, and I should have my pants pulled down in front of an audience of people who are over 18. Because I fucking blew it. It's Stan Winston. But listen, we get confused sometimes. Stan Winston, Rick Baker, and then the sentiment remains the same. Stan Winston is, again, another legendary effects artist. And but this cast, this crew, Shane Black wrote the film with Fred Decker, who directed the movie, and Shane Black, of course, we know from Predator and Shane Black movies. And we got Richard Edlund, who did visual effects as well. So you've got all this like powerhouse of like visual effects guys. It's a very beautiful looking movie, and some would say it's not perfect, but I love it, warts and all. And that is number 3 on my list, Monster Squad. And I did have a scene, but it was just the Wolfman Has Nards scene, which was already in the trailer. But also calling someone's balls nards, like, such an 80s thing. For years and years and years, my friends and I would just call them nards. You got look at the nards on that guy. What the fuck is a nard? My nards. Like, nards somehow is better than going, my balls. But I love that. He's like, because they're kids, you know? And if the Wolfman's right in front of you and some other kid and your friend is like, kick him in the balls. It's so ridiculous. Like that actually worked. And then he's like, I don't know, Wolfman doesn't, like, I don't know if he's got balls. And then he kicks him. He's like, Wolfman's got balls. Fucking brilliant. All right, number 2 is a movie from 1977, a Japanese horror movie called Hausu, or as you might know it as House, which is it's such a fun, bonkers movie, and it's really hard to describe, but it's essentially about these young girls that one girl wants to visit her aunt, lives out in the country in Japan, and so all of her friends go with her on a little vacation to go visit her aunt, and things go to shit, and it's like a real fun nightmare movie, and I highly recommend it. What does the IMDb say it's about? A schoolgirl and her 6 classmates travel to her aunt's country home, which turns out to be haunted. Spoiler alert. Anyway, this is another reader. Oh, I don't want to read. And honestly, I would not seek out a dub of this movie. But if you absolutely don't like reading movies, I get it. But you're really missing out on quite an experience. Here's the trailer for Houseu, or House.
House.
私あなたを救えなかった。
I see in your eyes where tomorrow is hiding in my heart. There's a bell ringing loud at the touch of your lips. Down the rainbow, I'm sliding. Little arrows keep falling as thick as a cloud.
眩しくて怖いのよ。日の光が。
A fear too beautiful to resist. The first fantasy horror film comes to the screen. Is it the first fantasy horror film? Ah! TV ad wizard Nobuhiko Obayashi. Oh no! I hate when that happens. All right. Well, that was a fucking trailer, huh? And that barely gives you any indication of the tone of the movie, really. Like some of the ridiculousness is there. But and there are some genuinely freaky, creepy visuals. And an incredibly impressive film from a technical standpoint because of, 1977. You can imagine what those effects look like, and you've seen in the trailer if you're watching this. But really, like, unique visuals and unique use of camera tricks and like a lot of practical effects as well as optical ones. But yeah, lots of cool shit. Here, let's watch this scene because it's a fun scene. And again, this one doesn't quite capture the tone, but the tone is all over the place. It's silly, it's funny, it's scary, it's fucked up, it's sad, it's weird, it's hard to understand. It's all the things that I love, all rolled up into one dark comedy, horror, body horror, Japanese film. And a great introduction to Japanese horror films, which are fantastic. And here's a clip of House. You're imagining things again. All right, so that was cool. Again, practical effects are really fun, and it's not hard to understand how they made that scene, but really cool. Highly recommend. Houseu. And finally, last but not least, my number one must-see, lesser-known horror movie comes from one of the most famous directors of all time, the director of the Lord of the Rings films, Peter Jackson, and the film is called Dead Alive. And I remember there was this girl I had a crush on in high school who introduced me to this movie, and it changed my life. Absolutely. And I also was way too afraid to ask that girl out, and I never did. But if you're still out there, Gina, thank you for introducing me to this movie. You changed my life. Here's the trailer for Dead Alive by Peter Jackson.
On this picturesque block, in this manicured home, something evil, something terrifying, something horrifying is haunting Lionel. His mother,
I thought I told you to spray this house. The place is infested with vermin.
although she was a little strict,
Look at this dust. It's an inch thick.
he never wished her any harm.
You look after me.
Until
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
now, whatever Mom's got
Who's your mother?
has caught on with the neighbors.
You know what that means?
You can pray.
I kick ass for the law.
You can plead. You can beg for mercy.
Someone,
But nothing you can do will stop it. Because how do you kill something that's already dead? Trimark Pictures presents a modern masterpiece of horror.
Your mother ate my dog.
Dead Alive.
Party's over.
Absolute masterpiece of a movie with just legendary folks involved in the production of said movie from 1992, made in New Zealand. Peter Jackson is in it also. And it was written by Francis Walsh and Peter Jackson. And those of you may not know who Francis Walsh is. Peter Jackson's lifelong collaborator and wife, Fran Walsh, actually co-wrote and co-produced the Lord of the Rings movies with Peter Jackson. So they've been working together for years and years. As well as Richard Taylor, the visual effects guy that also worked on all the Lord of the Rings movies, helped Peter Jackson make this movie back in 1992. And the original title was Brain Dead. That's what it's called in New Zealand and elsewhere. And I don't know why they changed the title here. I think maybe some American distributor was like, I don't like it. Call it Dead Alive. But man, that movie's so fun and gross. And really one of the few movies that makes me like actively cringe with disgust. Because there are some really gross moments in this movie, but so funny. It is a horror comedy, so it's very fun. And we on a whim watched it in our VR night, on our horror movie night, one of our horror movie nights, and everyone fucking loved it. It's rare when we get everyone behaving and watching and hooting and hollering in the right way. And it was just an unequivocal across the board. Everyone loved it. And I love that. I love that everyone kind of like understood the assignment and really enjoyed the film. But it's so fun and so bloody and so funny and weird and fucked up and great. And I highly recommend. But we'll watch this one scene that gives away a little something that maybe some of you might want to be surprised about. But if anything, it will convince you that you need to see this yesterday. Highly, highly, highly recommend this movie. Here's a scene from Dead Alive. Oh, she can't blend. Oh, God. Now she can. She's like, I can't blend a baby in the blender. Something that's really incredible about this too is, did you notice? I don't know if any of you noticed this, but the baby puppet is like really funny and gross looking, and here we have it like smiling and laughing, And then in this shot, it's like not smiling and laughing. It's like upset. And I love those little details. It's one of those blink and you miss it kind of things, but also something that's so subtle that you don't notice it, but you do. And it just adds so much to the expressiveness of the puppet. Like clearly they had different heads they could switch out, and one was a smiling head, and the other one was a not happy head. And that's just brilliant. Brilliant filmmaking, brilliant. Back when you had to kind of like really figure shit out because the technology was limited and you had to like really get down to the details of like how do we make this thing expressive because we can't afford to make like a fully expressive radio controlled animatronic. And so instead they usually it's the easiest idea that gets the job done, or the first idea. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm losing my mind. Anyway, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fans and viewers of this very fun and very popular podcast. I thank you for joining me on my top 5 must-see lesser-known horror movies list. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've seen these movies, please sound off in the comments about your thoughts. And if you haven't, I highly recommend seeing them before Halloween. You've got time. And then come back and let me know what you think. I'd love to talk to you guys and discuss these movies with y'all and hear what you think about them all. And they're very fun, and I really hope that you watch them. And if not, that's cool too. Couple of housekeeping things. Don't forget, every Friday I do my Big Friday Fortnite streams on twitch.tv/the Valleyfolk. And you can come talk to me this Friday if you've watched the movies, and we can talk about them in the chat. And also, there is a very special project debuting on October 31st that some friends and I have been working on in secret for quite a while, and now we're ready to reveal what it is. But I'm still just kind of teasing it for you guys here. I'm not going to fully reveal what it is quite yet because we're not really there, and just want to make sure everything's all good to go before we launch. So keep your eye on the socials, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next Valleycast because that will be the Wednesday before Halloween. So please enjoy your week, your weekend. Please come watch the Big Friday Fortnite Twitch streams that happen Fridays at noon Pacific time and go on for a few hours or more. And also, shout out to Elliot and Joe, who always are there to hold down the fort if I can't do an episode, and we all help each other out. And it's a very good time, and we love each other very much. And we'll be back together very soon, probably for the next episode. All right, guys. Well, happy Halloween. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next time on the Valleycast.